This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say our seasoning will take your barbecue from good to great. Great seasoning such as the Ritz Blend, Coffee and Q, Snore and Heat, Cajun, Smoked Savory, Two Border, S&P Bud, the Kerry Steak, Discord, Ope, Four Horsemen, the Old Fashioned, and the Mad Hatter. Be sure to grab one or all of them over at the madcanadianbbq.com. That is the madcanadianbbq.com. Be sure to use the promo code for the month of October, 1year20 at checkout. That is one spelled out, ONEYEAR 20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order for the month of October. Be sure to check out all of the Mad Canadian social medias to find out where he is heading out this weekend. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
What's up, YouTube? How you guys doing? Kyle nailed that ad read. Did you guys hear that?
It is game week.
We'll save that conversation for when our audio folk rejoin us.
Let's get pumped.
All right, let's rejoin our audio folk. Sorry, YouTube, that was not much of an exclusive look in. Some weeks will be better than others. All right. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing pretty well here. How are you, Jared?
Not great.
Not great. Jared, it is game week. You should
I know,
be doing fantastic right now.
Tell that to my head that hurts. I have general head pains right now.
I got the cure for you. Listening to us talk about Buckeye football.
If you say so. I personally found the sound of my own voice rather annoying. No, but just a heads up. I'm going to be like drinking a lot of water and making scrunchy faces a lot this episode, just because it's a lot of pain right now, and I'm working through it. And drinking water, it seems to be the only thing that helps. So there's gonna be like, here, I just want to get it here. Everyone just. That's what that sounds like. I'm sorry, but I'm also like, we're all just gonna have to go through this together.
All right.
But for everyone else, this is great, though. For everyone else, this is great because this is it. This is game week. Here we go. And so it begins.
Finally. Month and a half later, we're finally here.
Think about the path we have been on.
Not just us. Just think of the program as a whole, the path that they've had to go.
I mean, that's what I meant. When I said we, I didn't mean you and I, Kyle. I was talking about the encompassing Buckeye Nation, the fans, the players, the coaches, the parents, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The mental road trip we've been on since. I don't even want to call it, we all know. I hate to even, but since Olave broke that route off, and just everything that's transpired since then, unfortunately, none of it on a football field.
Yeah, we haven't seen a single snap in the spring. Obviously, very limited during fall camp and extended fall camp. And here we are, finally.
Yeah,
it is game week, and we'll get more into Ohio State's opponent in Friday's episode.
No, it's Friday.
It is Friday. Yes.
It has been Thursday for several years, Kyle.
Yes, I know. Friday's episode. But all right, let's jump into some Buckeye news. Unfortunate news that we have to come out to everybody with. Freshman safety Court Williams is reportedly out for the season with an ACL injury.
Yeah, was definitely a guy that was going to be in, I would probably say, the rotation at safety. He was a guy who we were going to see on the field this year. Again, if we're talking about who was going to start at safety, I was leaning Proctor and Hooker, uh, but Court Williams was definitely still going to be involved on the field prior to this injury.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's terrible news for Court Williams, and especially at the safety position where Ohio State is not the deepest. And I'm sure, even though we talked about this a lot on the last Friday's episode, how we're feeling a lot better about the safety position now than we were in the beginning part of the off during like stage 1 of the off season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it stinks for him mostly. And of course, Ohio State, could use depth at the safety position in case Hooker, Proctor, anyone else gets hurt or aren't performing to the level that we want them to perform at. Just to have Court Williams off of the table as an option does not help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or sickness too.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the other thing we just have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Players could just be out for 2 weeks because of a test, and I really don't know. As we talked a lot about Nick Saban testing positive on our Friday episode. Nick Saban, and it looks like, I don't know if this is official, but if you put the pieces together for yourself, it looks like that was probably a false positive. He ends up coaching the game. He had three negative tests since the positive test. So that's looking a lot like it was a false positive. I don't know how the Big Ten, because the Big Ten rules basically state if you test positive, you're done for 14 days. And I don't necessarily know what they have in place in case a false positive takes place. Like what possibly happened with Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll see if we can dig into that a little bit more on Friday's episode here. But from what we've seen, we haven't really seen anything in terms of what the Big Ten stance are in case something like that happens.
Well, that's assuming they have one.
Yeah, it's assuming a lot.
Yeah.
Other Buckeye news here. The basketball team reveals their uniforms for the upcoming season. Hashtag Team 122.
I'm a fan personally.
I like them. They're very simple. They're very simple, and it's done right.
I saw a lot of people. And I think people just complain anytime the uniforms are changed, no matter what the sport. There was a lot of negative feedback on Twitter. Maybe that's just Twitter being Twitter.
There's always one thing when it comes to uniforms, Sarah, that we always ask to have.
The gray sleeves?
Gray sleeve. And you know
it's a basketball uniform there. There aren't any sleeves.
But there is a gray stripe going right down the side here. But you know what?
Yeah.
That's good enough. That's good enough for me.
May not be gray sleeves, but it is gray seams. And that begins with an S.
Yes. Gray seams. I like it. No, it looks good from what I've been able to see here. It's just white, red uniform, and with the other color next to it, and then gray right next to it as well. It looks pretty good. I like it. It's very clean looking.
Yeah, most of the complaints I saw that I disagree with, by the way, I agree. I co-sign everything Kyle just said. Biggest was people just saying that they looked too basic, that they looked too generic. Like it was a lot of those words. But I'm with Kyle. I don't see basic or generic. I see clean. I don't know where this attitude comes that it has to be with, a bunch of bells and whistles and weird, I sort of get, I don't get it. Just like, it doesn't have to be some sort of wild redesign of the uniform. It's clean. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the women's uniform looks pretty much almost identical to the men's too.
Well, this is the first year where they've been genuinely identical.
Yes.
They and I don't know why this is. It's just I saw that from the official Ohio State basketball Twitter account where it said that for the first time ever, the men and the women are wearing the exact same uniform, and that just seems weird to me that wasn't always the case.
Yeah. All right. Here's from Ohio State's website here. The men now will boast 6 possible uniform combinations this year. All right. The primary home and away jerseys that we've seen on Twitter this past week and other social medias. Next is the Scarlet, which will have the Clark Kellogg era uniforms, which has been worn the last 2 years.
Okay.
And also a gray Jim Jackson era throwbacks from the last several years. And then they also have 2 alternates still yet to be released. I do enjoy from time to time seeing those really throwback gray jerseys. Those are just like, when you see them, like, yes, you get really excited for that. But you don't want to have it happen too often, though. You want to savor that excitement.
Yeah.
Just like black jerseys.
I think at least one of those. Yet to be released alternates. I'm pretty sure Andrew Lind has already reported on that. He always seems to have the hookup with uniforms. You can follow him on Twitter if you like.
Yeah.
All right, but I think that's enough uniform basketball talk. We talked a little bit about Nick Saban having tested positive for COVID and how that looks to have possibly been a false positive. Dan Mullen, the head coach at Florida, along with, last I saw, and it might be more, but last I saw, 19 players at Florida ended up testing positive as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
definitely not a good sign down in Florida.
No. And this is like less than a week after Dan Mullen was campaigning to have full attendance at Florida games. I don't know what people are thinking, but I hope Dan Mullen's fine. Mm-hmm. I hope everyone's fine. I just I feel like our numbers as a nation, I know in Ohio, we recently hit a 2-month high, and I get it. Like, we're better at treating it. Our rates of survival are better. We're doing a lot of good things. Yep. So I kind of get why people are leaning off. But I feel like maybe we should be transitioning back into normal life instead of going at it full force, which kind of feels like what is happening. I will say that Dan Mullen having a positive test, and I have not heard anything about negative tests since then. And Jeff Brom, the head coach at Purdue, has also tested positive. So that's your first Big Ten head coach getting COVID, and I don't know. We don't know really anything about that. That's it per our time and space at the moment. Late breaking news, or somewhat anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I excuse me. I don't know. You know, we might be talking about Jeff Brom on the Friday episode, and hey, maybe he also turns around, gets a bunch of negative tests, and is fine. And maybe something similar for Dan Mullen. We don't know at this point. But it's a thing we're gonna have to keep an eye on. My confidence dwindles every day that Ohio State will end up playing this full schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And we do seem to be regressing at the moment. The NFL is having issues all over the place. Now, the NFL, Indianapolis, they did in fact end up playing their game today against Cincinnati. They had a bunch of positive tests that turned out to be negative. we're all
And the Titans as well. And they had a lot of issues as well.
Titans did play in our version of today. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
we're all just doing our best. We're all just doing our best.
Mm-hmm.
So just like I said, just hope everyone's okay, and I hope that we just don't rush too hard into things, especially like letting people in the stadiums. It just feels unnecessary, honestly.
Yeah.
It, I, I don't know. Just I want to go to an Ohio State game. You want to go? We all want to go to an Ohio State game. It just feels like an unnecessary risk. And by the way, if we do let people into Ohio State games, can we just close Double A? Just keep
Yes.
them as far away from the players as possible. Can we close Double A? Um, and I want to keep the players as safe as possible. And if anyone else wants to go to the games, I just I would just prefer not to. It feels so unnecessary at this point. All right, Kyle.
Completely agree.
Anything else in that realm, or do you want to talk some college football action from this past weekend?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it here. And by the way, we're not going to be talking about, which is seemed to be the trend to talk about on this Sunday afternoon as we're recording this,
Ugh.
about people's like, oh, the AP and this and that, and why is so and so ranked this and that, and blah blah blah. We've mentioned it a
We
number
don't
of
care.
times, so we're not going to get into that. AP and the coaches poll is just
People are
garbage.
particularly upset that Georgia is still ranked fourth after getting boat raced by Bama.
Yeah, it's
And
not
you know
it's
what?
not that they lost by like 3 points, a touchdown,
No.
boat raced.
And if you're upset by that, let me first say you're not wrong to be upset by that. Um,
But you're wrong for looking at the AP poll, though.
if you're looking at that and you're looking for logic or justice and you aren't seeing it, you're correct. You're correct. Like, I'm not going to defend the choice that the poll is making. It's not what I'm doing here. That's not I don't think any reasonable person is doing here.
Mm-hmm.
My point is that you shouldn't let the AP poll, no matter what it says, bother you. Because it's not relevant anymore. It's
It's not.
especially not
Not right now.
relevant this year because you got Brent McMuffins over there. He doesn't even have Ohio State in his top 25 whatsoever.
I
Doesn't
don't
have
even know who
any.
you're talking about.
Yeah, but the point is that some people just aren't even including Ohio State because they haven't played. Yet these people were including the
The
SEC
SEC
teams
before they
before
played.
the
Yeah.
okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is stop caring. It doesn't matter anymore. We have a playoff committee. It
Every,
doesn't matter anymore. The
every
AP poll stopped mattering a very long time ago, and then
Mhm.
it extra stopped mattering once we got a playoff committee, and then it extra stopped mattering because of the way the schedule is being divided up because of COVID.
every Buckeye fan needs to listen closely. Only worry about the next team moving forward. Everything else will take care of itself. Ohio State wins. They win out. There's no question in my
Yeah,
mind or in anybody's minds for that fact. They can leave Ohio State out.
yeah, it's fine.
Period. Take care of what's in front of you. Everything else will fall in line there. Don't worry about AP poll, coaches poll, your mama's poll, whoever, whatever it is.
Ohio
Doesn't
State,
matter. It does
Ohio
not
State,
matter.
Ohio State controls their own destiny.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what Brett McMuffin has to say.
I still
It's
don't know who
fine.
this McMuffin guy is. Nor do I care. All right, let's go into this here. Let's see. Three games that were postponed. The Cincinnati Tulsa game, which was one of our sleep picks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mentioned already LSU in Florida, which was a highly sought after game to watch. And Oklahoma State and Baylor, which Baylor have they like They played like one game this so far.
Something like that. It's if it's not one, it's two. They've
Yeah.
had it. They've
Oh, it
had
is
it.
too. Yeah.
They've had it rough trying to get on the football field.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. All right, let's get in here. Let's see. This first one, I don't care about talking about the Raging Cajuns. Uh,
I don't know why you have it in the show notes, honestly.
I just copied what was here. Let's see. SMU beats Tulane. Okay. BYU beats Houston. Okay. All right. Clemson.
BYU might be good. We should keep an eye. They have a really nice quarterback.
They do. Yes.
And again, we're talking about a situation in which that fourth spot feels like it's open to a dozen teams at this point or more. And BYU is probably one of those dozen teams. That's it. That's the tweet. That's the whole thing.
That's the tweet.
We're still looking at a top two plus Bama plus some other fourth team.
Yes.
And I think we should start looking at BYU as one of those other four teams or fourth teams.
Maybe. We'll see. All right. Clemson, Georgia Tech here. What did you take away from this game here?
Clemson's Clemson. What do you want? They're great.
Yeah.
I mean,
they looked great in all levels of the football game. Their offense, defense, special teams. There's no reason. Well, there could be one reason why you wouldn't rank them number one.
What on earth would that one reason be?
Teams they've beaten. Because you can give the nod to Alabama based off of their performance last weekend.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. More on that here a little bit. Miami bouncing back after their loss. Not just a loss, but their beatdown from Clemson beats Pittsburgh 31-19.
Kyle, was this one of our sloop picks?
This was one of our sloop picks here, Jared.
As it turns out, it was our only noon kickoff sloop pick because the Cincinnati game was canceled.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. If I look at the standings here, I want to see who did not pick Miami. Looking at you, Tanner, and Austin.
Ooh, calling you out, Tanner and Austin.
It wasn't a great weekend. I mean, we had only two people this last weekend that went above 500.
I would have gone above 500 in Cincinnati. Going above 500 is significantly tougher. I'm just going to assume I won the Cincinnati game. Going above 500 is significantly tougher when you can only go 3-3. There's not a seventh game to push you over.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes it a lot easier to not go below 500.
Yes. Yep.
So I have that going for me.
All right, but yeah, Miami. I mean, other than just dumb turnovers and all that, Miami's a good team. They're not a great team, but they're a good team this year. They are.
I agree.
With King under center there.
He had some rough throws.
He did. Yeah. Reminds me of some quarterbacks that we've gone through at Ohio State. So just leave it at that. South Carolina finally beating Auburn. I think I saw here this is the first time they beat Auburn since, gotta flip that back the pages a lot, to 1933.
Seriously?
The last time South Carolina beat Auburn.
1933?
1933. Do you remember that game, Jared?
No. Wow. 1933.
Mm-hmm.
For conference foes? What type of win streak was that?
I don't know. I'll have to see if I can look at that. But yeah, that was nuts.
It's one thing when one team hasn't played the other team all that many times, but they're in the same conference, granted on different sides of the division. But
yeah, if I look at Winsipedia.
I like Winsipedia.
Yeah, Winsipedia is good here. Yeah, it says here.
Talking,
Yeah,
filling time.
talking. Yeah, Auburn is 10-1-1.
They've only played each other 12 times.
Yep.
How did they only play each other 12 times if they're both in the
Let's see. It
SEC?
looks like here. Yep, in 1933 here, South Carolina won 16-14, and then there was a long span. They played each other again as non-conference like 96 and 97, and then they didn't play each other until 2005, and then 2006.
Is South I don't know anything about South Carolina. I'm just going to own up to that. Have they not been in the SEC that long? I know nothing about South Carolina. They're just not a relevant program in my head.
No, they had that one good year this century.
You know what? I'm over it. I'll figure all of this out in my own time later.
All right. Let's see here. Next game, Tennessee. Jared, Tennessee is back. No, we're kidding ourselves. Tennessee gets whomped by Kentucky after like abysmal start. I saw something about like the first 5 drives ended up being something like it was something like punt, fumble, interception, punt, something dumb like that in their first 5 drives.
I don't know why people always fall for this Tennessee thing.
I don't either.
They're like Texas with less money. That's who Tennessee is. Tennessee had Peyton Manning and T. Martin. T. Martin came in after Peyton Manning and won the title, but they had this nice little stretch in the 90s where they were pretty good. It's kind of like a few years later, Texas did the same thing with Vince Young and then Colt McCoy. I get it. I do. But I don't know why we keep falling for, not we, Kyle and I will shit on Tennessee any chance we get.
Yeah.
But why everyone else keeps falling for this Tennessee thing, I will never understand.
Recruiting, maybe?
They recruit fine. It's not
where they recruit, they should be better ranked and they should be winning more games based on what they've recruited.
Texas with less money.
Yes. And by the way, Jared, South Carolina joined the SEC 92.
So they were part of that big early 90s conference shakeup.
Like when Penn State joined the Big Ten and all that.
And isn't that
around the same time?
Isn't that when the Southwest Conference fell apart as well?
Possibly. All right. Yeah, Kentucky wins 34-7. Probably one of the most surprising games here. Notre Dame 12-7 victory over Louisville.
I've given up trying to understand the ACC. I give up. What is happening in the ACC? I don't know.
It is just crazy. Just looking at
2 weeks ago.
Just looking at Notre Dame here, I'm just dumbfounded about how like they have a really good team. They have a very good team, a team that's very, very capable making it into the playoffs this year. But they have
Ian Book.
Yeah. But they have
you're right. I'm wrong for ing you because that 4th spot's wide open. So my apologies there. But ultimately Ian Book.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I just it's hard always pinpointing Notre Dame here because you're like, oh hey, they have a really good team. They have really good players. They just never get over that hump. They haven't for a long time. But
yeah.
seeing that score though, 12-7, that's just they had no faith. They struggled passing heavily in that game.
You know how I said Tennessee is Texas with less money?
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is Michigan. There's not a qualifier coming at the end of that. Notre Dame is Michigan. That's it. That's the tweet. That's it. That's the whole thing. They're basically the same place.
It's just
No, well, Notre Dame is Michigan with more Jesus. That's it. That's
let's see, who does Notre Dame play next here? The way they played against Louisville here, they may struggle against Pittsburgh in their next game. And then they also have to finish out the rest of the year with Clemson and North Carolina.
they'll get boat raced against Clemson.
All right. Next game here, Texas A&M beats out Mississippi State 28-14.
Yeah, as a snoozer of a game, I attempted to watch it. I wasn't feeling great yesterday either, so I just sort of laid on the couch and passively watched this football game. And that's my entire everything on this game. I don't think either of these teams are any good. It's really just that simple.
Yeah.
Kellen Mond is Ian Book, is Sam Ellinger, is I'll pull out on the fourth attempt. But there's another guy. I always say, like, these are 4 quarterbacks who are basically the same guy, and Kellen Mond's just one of them. He's like I said, he's Ian Book. He's a good quarterback who never really lived up to his own hype. They're capable of spectacular plays. They have spectacular gifts. They should be really great, but they just self-destruct with this awful play at times. And that's it. That's the whole thing with Texas A&M and Kellen Mond.
Jared.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good way to segue into this. I kind of lost it there. I was going to say here something along the lines of, hey, you got this really good steak here,
Yeah.
but you want to make it elite.
You want to coach it up.
You want to make it elite status here. And
So you have to coach it up.
You have to coach it up. You have to put some elite seasoning from our good friend over at the Mad Canadian Barbecue.
I don't have any curry steak. Well, I mean, I do, but it's in the kitchen. I don't have any curry steak at the desk.
All right.
Just pretend I'm holding up a curry steak right now.
All right. What else would you put on a good old steak here? I know you don't want to over season it though, but maybe a good old S&P bud.
S&P bud would be excellent on a steak. I think if it's a lunchtime or breakfast steak, you go some coffee and Q. Maybe not a dinner, depending upon your particular tolerance for caffeine. Maybe not a dinner steak. What else would you put on a steak? What else would we put on? I don't have a lot. They keep migrating to the kitchen. I don't have a lot at my desk at the moment.
It's a good sign, Mad Canadian.
It is. The Sonoran Heat would go great on a steak.
We'll just do those 4 right there. The coffee and Q, Sonoran Heat, S&P bud, and the Carrie steak.
I think the smoked wood, and I'm intrigued about using an old fashioned. I've used old fashioned
with the little bourbon in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I've used the old fashioned on beef cuts before, and they turned out great. Just not like a steak.
Yeah.
Like I've done it on a flank steak, which is similar but not exactly the same. But yeah, you could definitely go old fashioned. I think I've just not personally done it yet.
Yeah. Be sure to try those and all the other seasonings over at themadcanadianbbq.com. That is themadcanadianbbq.com. Check out all the spices. While you're there, make sure you use the promo code ONEYEAR20, one spelled out, ONEYEAR20, 20% off your entire order for the month of October. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
All right, Kyle, we have a few more games to cover.
Yep. First off, probably I guess you can consider Auburn a team chaos, but this was the biggest team chaos game for the weekend. Florida State beating North Carolina 31-28. Florida State just dominating the start of the game, but Florida State being Florida State of late, where they struggled to hold on to that lead, but somehow they held out to the lead and beat out North Carolina at the end.
I've given up trying to understand the ACC. It's just that simple.
And I feel
2 weeks ago we were like, who's the second best team in the ACC? And who did we say? We said North Carolina, Miami, and Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Well, Notre Dame went on to beat Louisville 12-7 this weekend. They haven't lost yet, so credit to them on that. Miami got embarrassed by Clemson. It's no big deal to lose to Clemson, but
yeah,
they weren't even competitive. Mm-mm. And then North Carolina loses to Florida State, who has lost to everyone and their cousin this season.
Yeah, I felt really bad for North Carolina's quarterback, Sam Howell, where he made some good throws just right at the end there where they're just dropped passes too.
Yeah, that last drive was tough.
I think it was 3 straight drop passes there. Ugh.
I don't know.
Especially the last two. The last two, that first down one, that would have been a tough catch, but it was definitely catchable. Those last two were definitely drops.
There was also definitely holding and or pass interference.
Yeah, there was a good stretch of the jersey here.
Yeah, that jersey's ruined. Mm-hmm. But yeah, North Carolina falls. The ACC, shockingly, turns out really just to be Clemson and a bunch of other teams. Mm-hmm. Shockingly.
Yeah. Staying in the ACC here, surprising here. I thought this would have been a lot closer game, though. Virginia Tech just demolishing Boston College 40-14.
Yeah.
I'll be frank, I didn't watch any of this game here. I was just really shocked to see the end score as it was.
I mean, I flipped over. I have 2 TVs going, and I kind of tried to make some time for this one, like if either the Georgia-Alabama game or the North Carolina-Florida State games were at halftime. Mm-hmm. But I didn't watch it in enough detail to have a ton of opinion on it. It did get out of hand early. Virginia Tech is positioning themselves as a team that can beat lesser teams and lose against better teams. Maybe one of the few consistent teams in their middle status in the ACC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a game I thought was going to be a lot closer. As my picks, I had as my pick, I had Boston College to cover here.
Yeah, and I think if
we only had one person who picked that game right, and that was Sean
Brawley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good for him, I guess. Yeah, no, I thought, I mean, I still think Hafley's doing a really good job at Boston College. Did not come into a program with a lot to offer. So he has a long way to go to get Boston College to where it needs to be. And like we've been talking about, the ACC is wide open as far as becoming one of the top quarter teams. There's not a lot of competition to become one of the 4 or so best teams in the ACC.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's no competition to become the best team in the ACC.
No. All right, and the last
and speaking of there being no competition at the top of a conference,
Alabama and Georgia.
This looked like a typical Georgia game, except that Alabama was playing the role of Georgia. Alabama let Georgia hang around for a while, then the talent of the depth chart took over, and Alabama ran away with it at the end.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything in that second half there. It was Georgia, that is. I'm trying to figure out what the actual numbers was, but that, especially that fourth quarter, Georgia couldn't do anything. against Alabama's defense. And it looked like early on that Georgia was able to run the ball. They were able to get some good penetration on that Alabama defensive line there.
Alabama's defensive line has issues.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was expecting, obviously, I think we all got that right here. I look at.
I took Bama. I know that.
Mm-hmm. I did too. So if I look at the list here, we had, oh wow, there's actually quite a few people who picked Georgia here. I'm looking at you, Mad Canadian.
Ooh, take that, Mad Canadian.
Yeah. So that the question then here is who had the tiebreaker here. So how many points?
Oh Lord.
See, points were 65, and oh boy, Cooper guessed exactly right on the dot, 65.
I wasn't even close. I picked 50.
Well, by Price is Right
measurements, but we don't do it by Price is Right.
I beat you out because I got 50. I guessed 52.
Oh well, you beat me regardless.
Well, we both got 3. You were 3 and 3 for the week, and
you technically win because of the tiebreaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I look at the live standings here or the overall standings here, through 4 weeks, we have Mad Canadian in first place with 17.
What?
He has 17 points now.
Ugh.
You need a.
Now you might say I'm salty about that.
Let's see. And second is Jay with 16, Tanner with 15, and yours truly with 14. And
just say it.
And Jared scoring just a little bit with 12. I'm
only 2 behind you. I'm in it still. We haven't even started the Big Ten season. I'm in it still.
Oh, I'm ready for the Big Ten here. So just a sneak peek here for the games here. Let's see. Penn State and Indiana. I don't even think I can find, from my view here, I don't think I can see over-unders here and favors.
They might not be completely out yet.
Okay.
I know, well, but on that, we have a question from Cooper. Yes. So we'll sort of jump into our Ask Sloopcast questions. Mm-hmm. An early spread question, even though it's the Monday episode. Hey, Cooper. What would the spread have been before you pick Nebraska? It's sitting at 23.5 at the moment. So the question here, and we'll pick this later, but and by later I mean next episode. Because the line might move. It was 23.5 when he asked this question. I don't know if it still is. I don't know if it'll be that when we lock in the spreads on Monday. And again, we're doing this on Sunday. So the question here, Kyle, is not, are you taking Ohio State minus 23.5? The question is, how high does the number have to get before you pick Nebraska? And you can go less than 23.5. What's your magical number? And it's hard because neither of these teams have played yet.
Yeah, no,
we have a really good idea who Ohio State is. I don't know that we have a great idea who Nebraska is.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a team that's trending upwards, but trending upwards is a lot like Miami facing Clemson. That might be a really nice comparison to what we're going to see with Nebraska and Ohio State. So, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking
23.5 is not a terrible number.
Nah, it's not. No, honestly, that might be a little too much for my blood.
Really?
I'm thinking at this point, probably 20.5.
See, and this might sound like a cop out answer, but again, we talk about how like we have common point differentials in football.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently at 23. If it was at 24 and a half, because winning by 24 is fairly common. It's 3 touchdowns and a field goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it being below 24 makes me a little bit more apt to pick Ohio State. It being above 24 would make me a little bit more apt to pick Nebraska. Because I think 24 is a really common spread, common point differential number. I think it might just need to go up by 1 point to tip me in that direction. Because 24 and a half is a huge number for two teams you haven't seen play yet.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a big number. And Nebraska does not recruit on Ohio State's level, but they also aren't an FCS school. They also aren't a MAC school. They also aren't Illinois. They're not a bottom of the Big Ten team. They're not a MAC team. But they're also just like a middle Big Ten team. 23 and a half feels very right to me. I think that's it. I think if it was 20, I think it's right there at 23 and 24. So if this line moves by the time we actually go to pick it, it only has to move 1 point to sway me.
Okay. Yeah, that's that's a little too much for me at this point, but
I don't think you're necessarily wrong, because that next sort of break is the 21-point differential.
mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. The other games here, we got sidetracked here. So we said Penn State, Indiana, Rutgers, and Michigan State. Iowa and Purdue, which may be up in the air. We'll see. Michigan, Minnesota.
As of right now, we've only heard of Jeff Brom. As we were recording this, that could be different.
Probably the biggest game here, which I think I saw game days coming there, Michigan and Minnesota.
Yeah.
Maryland, so 2 years in a row going to Minnesota.
Yeah, they kind of have to. They have to get the Big Ten games in now, because I don't think they're going to have the balls to do them later.
No.
Unless they do them indoors, which, again, if we're not doing large gatherings, you might as well do some of these game days indoors, I guess.
Yeah. And then Maryland, Northwestern, and Illinois, Wisconsin.
And which one of those is Friday night game?
Friday night game is...
Because we have a Friday night Big Tenner this week.
According to this, there isn't.
I could have sworn. I could have sworn.
You could have sworn. So
hold on. It's in our last week's notes, or our last episode notes. So you just talk for like 20 seconds for me.
So I'm going to talk a little bit more, and yep, it is Illinois, Wisconsin.
There you go.
Illinois, Wisconsin. I had to look at a different website. This one website I'm looking at. You are wrong. You are wrong.
Yeah, like I said, I could have sworn.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, I don't really see any interesting games other than, obviously, we're all really interested in the Nebraska and Ohio State, obviously. But
I think Minnesota, Michigan's very interesting.
That one
Remember,
yes.
A few weeks ago, you and I asked the question, could Michigan go 500?
Mm-hmm.
And the one game that we sort of waffled on was this one.
Yep.
This might be Michigan's only chance to save themselves from a 500 season.
Yeah.
Because I see 3 more losses on that schedule without trying too hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's go and answer some more Sloopcast questions here, Jared.
Yes.
Duncan asks us, with only 9 games to show off to the selection committee, and Bama and Clemson having a bigger than usual head start in the, quote, who's best narrative, can any Big Ten team afford to take their foot off the gas, or does every game have to be a Ohio State versus Wisconsin championship game drubbing?
No. when you're in.
When you are in. Yes.
Ohio State controls their own destiny. All they have to do is win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're sitting around talking about how there's a fourth spot that feels wide open.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We could legitimately see, depending upon what happens in the Ohio State Penn State game, because I think Penn State's pretty good this year. A lot of it depends upon how they look at the quarterback position, in my opinion, but we can talk more about Penn State in detail later the season after we've actually seen some data. But it's totally feasible to me that we see Ohio State and Penn State in the playoff this year. I think there are a few teams in the Big Ten, and I just think Penn State's probably the most likely, but we could also talk about Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. Sure. I don't like Michigan this year, but we could feasibly be talking about, we say, Kyle and I talk all the time, there's like 15 teams who could get that fourth spot. And I think 3 of them are in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And that's me saying, Ohio State in, and then 3 additional teams in the Big Ten who could get that fourth spot. I think it's totally realistic. Minnesota, Penn State, Wisconsin, more so Penn State and Wisconsin than probably Minnesota. But I really like what's happening in Minnesota right now, so I could be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Jared. Next question here, also from Duncan. He said, I know you probably don't know the answer, but...
Okay.
Who was the slowest Buckeye overall, and who was the fastest 40 among the Slobs?
I don't have the answer to either of those questions. You want to play a guessing game, though?
Sure.
Let's play a guessing game. All right, Kyle. Dwan Jones is a giant human being. So if we're talking about 40 times, that's kind of where I want to lean towards him having the quote-unquote slowest 40 time. Because it just takes a lot to move someone that much. Like, that's a lot of human being to move from a stop all the way 40 yards. It's just a lot of human being.
I tell you, someone who looked fast, and probably just because of just a couple of plays that stick in my mind, big offensive lineman who looked fast for the time that he played was Orlando Pace.
I feel like there's an amount of someone that size meeting low expectations when we talk about quote unquote how fast they are. Mm-hmm. There's an asterisk that's saying for their size. And I think Dwan Jones is actually pretty quick, not necessarily fast. He's actually really quick for a guy his size, but he's also a guy his size.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. It really is. I don't even know where to begin on who is the fastest 40 among the Slobs. I don't even know where to begin.
I would guess it's one of the interior guys.
Mm-hmm.
So not one of the tackles, probably one of the interior guys.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you could go with Wyatt Davis, maybe.
Leaning
Munford.
Not Munford. I'm not going to go Munford.
Maybe Harry Miller.
I'm between Harry Miller and Wyatt Davis.
Okay.
I want to give maybe the older guys who have been in the Marathi dojo a bit longer a better chance at that. That's sort of where I'm at with who might be the fastest slob. This is 100% speculation.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Mm-hmm. All right. One last question from Duncan. This is more for our sponsor here. He says, the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company usually says they'll take your barbecue from good to great. What else does the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company say? Maybe Michigan sucks?
Buy our spices. Keep an eye on our social media pages for where the food bus will be next. He says a lot.
He says, "Don't tug on my beer."
You said beer.
Beard. Beard.
Why did you hold up your drink when you said beard?
Beard.
Beard. Don't pull on my beard. I think would probably be. I think it's probably a. Don't pull up on my beard. I think that's probably what he says. Or don't pull on my beard, eh?
All right, we're moving on from that.
Okay. What are we moving on to? I think that's it. I think that's
we're moving on to the end of the show.
Yay, we did it. I want to encourage everyone to check out all of the things. All the things are in the master link. If you only listen to this audio only, I encourage you to check us out on YouTube. We actually post this episode both to a Sloopcast YouTube channel as well as the Buckeye Scoop YouTube channel. If you are just about Buckeye content, I'm just telling you right now, go subscribe to that Buckeye Scoop YouTube channel. I'll say this, and I don't know. I know Tom Orr listens during the off season. I think he's just very busy during the season. So I don't know if he's going to hear this or not. But like the morning scoop has become a part of my morning routine. It's like 20 minutes right in the morning, and just like the latest that went on the day before. So if you're not listening to the morning scoop at the very least, and again, that you can find that both like this show, both in an audio format and a video format, then you're doing Ohio State football wrong. You're doing it wrong. You have to check out the morning scoop with Tom Orr. And hey, Tom, I'm right here. You can reach out to Tony and he can give you my contact info. Or just send me, I'm right here, man. I'm starting to take it personally. Bring me on the show. I'm just messing with you, Tom. Again, I don't think he actually listens during the I know I personally, other than the morning scoop, I stopped listening to most other Buckeye podcasts during the season because I don't want to repeat what other people are saying. So I know I kind of go into a little bit of a hole when the football season starts, because I just don't want to talk about all the same stuff everyone else is talking about, or at least knowingly do it. Anyway, I'm just rambling. Check out the master link. You can support us on Patreon. We're trying to sort of up our video content stuff, but we need hardware to do that. So one way to help us sort of develop more video stuff would be to support us on Patreon. That would be greatly appreciated. The lowest tier is only $3 a month. It's very accessible, and I would appreciate anything anyone can do to help us out. At the same time, I am also well aware that the economy sort of is what it is, and a lot of people haven't worked a lot this year because of COVID and everything else. So if you're here and you listen every episode, know that that is enough. Know that that's enough. And also, if you want to support us, but not necessarily in a way where you're just donating money to us, you can check out our t-shirt stuff. I'm wearing a 7071 original, and again, you can find that link in the master link. This is a fictional sports franchise from Youngstown. They're called the Youngstown Mafia. If you know, you know. And Kyle is wearing, once again, our Buckeye Sloopcast, definitely not a crew ripoff,
but in a hoodie.
In hoodie form.
Yes.
Yeah, he was wearing the t-shirt form last week. I knew when I made that one that Kyle would like it, because I know my audience. But yeah, you can check out all that stuff in the master link. All the YouTube stuff. You can check out the Mad Canadian stuff. You can find both the 7071 and the Buckeye Sloopcast stores in the master link. All the links are in there. It just takes you to a website that has all the links. That's all it is. It's called a campsite link. If anyone knows campsite, that's all it is. So you can check that out. You can find all of our stuff there. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner for this week?
Not much other than, maybe benching Dwayne Haskins wasn't the issue going on over in
You
Washington.
don't say. You don't say.
Austin Mack gets his first career catch over in New York land there.
Yep. You got called up to the New York Giants last week. I think it was just last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So congrats to him and free Dwayne Haskins.
Yes, free Dwayne Haskins. I think the hashtag was like free Simba or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking here. Let's see here. Austin Mack. Yep, he had one catch
I think it was about 1 yard.
for 1 yard.
Yeah. I saw the play.
All right. All right. Nope. I got nothing here. Just getting ready to ramp up. We get to do a solid Friday episode coming up here. So if you're listening to this, you have a question for this upcoming game, get those questions in. We'll try to answer them on Friday's episode. So let's set the deadline at like 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock? 6 o'clock Wednesday?
Yeah, let's do 6 o'clock Wednesday. Yep, let's do 6 o'clock Wednesday to get your questions in. Either email us, sloopcast@gmail.com, or tweet at us using the hashtag AskSloopcast. And
our Discord folk know how to get to us on Discord.
Yes.
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 And I think that's it. Was that it for Kyle's Corner?
That's all I got today.
Awesome. All right. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a Cincinnati pop punk band called Settle Your Scores. So you can check them out in the show notes. And with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to listen to local music, drink local beer, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Settle Your Scores. Hey, YouTube. My head's killing me. I've been drinking water because it's the only thing that helps my head, and now I have to pee. So if I've appeared...
You could drink some rum to help you.
If I've appeared very twitchy this episode on the video, it's because the movement helps my head, the water helps my head, but now I also really, really have to pee. So this is I'm dealing with all of this right now.
Oh, I can't wait. The itch is there.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. Like I said, I have to really, really pee. So we're gonna rejoin our audio listeners. We're gonna outro this, and I'm gonna run to the freaking toilet.
All right.
I suffer for you guys. Just know that. Know that I suffer. Once again, I'd like to thank Settle Your Scores for ending today's episode. And once again, want to thank the Mad Canadian for sponsoring today's episode. Kyle, did you know there's a special October-only promo code going on right now? He is celebrating his 1-year anniversary sponsoring the Sloopcast with the promo code 1year20. That's 1 year. That's all spelled out. That's ONEYEAR 20 at checkout to get 20% off your entire order. Kyle, I received update from the Mad Canadian. And I don't have the exact verbiage in front of me, but he told me that 1year20 has been way bigger for him than he could have ever hoped. So you guys are responding fantastically. Know that we appreciate it. Know that he appreciates it. And know that your meats appreciate it. Your meats want to taste good for you. Do you think they want to be bad meat, or do you think they want to be good meat? The answer to that one is simple. They want to be good meat, of course. He has, if you go to his website, he has all of his spices sort of divided up in this stuff is good on pork, and this stuff is good on beef, and this stuff is good on chicken, and this stuff is good on your vegetables. He's got it all divided up for you. We've said it a bunch of times on this podcast. I'll say it one more time. One more time, as if it's the last time I'm going to say it. That's a lie. That the smoked, the S&P bud, and the Sonoran Heat. That's your starter trio. Those three things go great on everything. The S&P Bud, I know I've lately been calling a potato cheat code, and that's exactly what it is. And it's an absolute potato cheat code. It goes great on all your vegetables, honestly. I think that if you're asking me, which one is going to make my side dish, my vegetables stand out and be almost as good as the meat, almost, let's not get ahead of ourselves, almost as good as the meat, I think the S&P Bud's your go-to. That is your that and the Sonoran Heat, I think, are really like the flagship items as far as like pure versatility go. That being said, if someone eats a lot of hamburgers or a lot of steak, then you got to check out the Kerry steak. It's amazing. It's fantastic. The old fashioned is a bourbon cherry mix. That's a great go-to for pork. I've put it on everything at this point because I really like that bourbon cherry combination. That's a thing I love. So I've put it on everything. I think it's really. I think that the Mad Canadian told me that he developed it as a rib rub. So that's its real. That's its real intended purpose in life. So if you're really into ribs, and a lot of people are smoking ribs this time of year, that's your guy. And one last one, the Brits blend, because I know it's chili season. I know we're making chili. I know a lot of you are going to be making chili for football season, and the Big Ten, we're just getting going. Brits blend, that's your chili cheat code right there. Anything Southwest really, but I know, like I said, it's very chili season right now. So make sure to pick up a bottle of the Brits blend. All of that and more can be found at themadcanadianbbq.com, where he has your butt covered.